Good evening and welcome you all for the episode 11 of Alternates Universe webinar series titled Trust, Tech and Transformation, the Future of Private Banking in India. I am Aravind Ravindran from PMS Bazaar and it's a pleasure to have you all here. Private banking in India is evolving rapidly and this webinar explores how transparency and consistent outcomes are redefining client trust, the role of artificial intelligence and data in delivering personalized advice at scale, the shift towards digital first client centric models, and how advisors are transitioning from product distributors to strategic wealth partners. To explore more on this, we have our esteemed speaker, Mr. Vikas Sharma, Head of Wealth Management and Private Banking at IDFC FIRST Bank. With over 2 decades of experience in wealth management and private banking and financial services, Mr. Vikas is a business leader who has ideated, built, and scaled up businesses across organizations. At IDFC First Bank, he oversees the strategic direction, product development, distribution, and digital transformation of the bank's wealth management and private banking verticals. He has been involved in successfully launching and growing businesses by way of multifold growth in assets, expanding client base, enhancing product portfolio, and improving customer experience. He is driven by the ambition of creating value for the organization, the clients, the stakeholders, and leveraging his domain expertise through startup mindset and scale up experience. Welcome, sir.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot for that very elaborate introduction. My pleasure joining you guys here.
Thank you. Next up, we have our moderators, Mr. Vikas M. Sachdeva. Mr. Vikas is an investment industry stalwart with over 3 decades of experience in the asset management business. He is currently the managing director of Sundaram Alternate Assets, driving growth across different port platforms, geographies, and asset classes. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
And next, we have Mr. Arjunji Nagarajan. Mr. Arjun is the Chief Economist, Commodities Fund Manager, and Communications Manager with Sundaram AMC, and his career in the market span over 15 years, of which he has spent over 12 years at Sundaram Asset Management Company. Welcome, sir.
Thanks, Arvind.
With that, let's start today's session. Over to you, Vikas, sir.
Thank you. So, just to make sure that there's no confusion, you can call me Sachdeva and you can call him Vikas because I think both of us share the same name. So first of all, Vikas, thank you so much for gracing the show. I think it's been a while since I've been after you to come on to our show because I know that there is going to be a lot of value you'll add to our listeners. Also, I believe that you're in the land of Sundaram right now. You're in Chennai. Okay. And so, welcome to Chennai. And, hope that Chennai is treating you well. Anytime, any place, if there's an issue, just remember you're in the land of Sundaram. You're just one phone call away. Okay?
Pleasant coincidence that I happen to be in Chennai when we're doing this.
Yes. So, because I must confess that before we got onto this show, me and my team, we've done a little bit of digging around for this section called The Person Behind the Professional, wherein we try to find out more about the guests coming in on the show and a little bit of a human touch. Everybody knows us as professionals, but what are we behind when we are not working? So I've got a lot of sorry.
Okay, go ahead. I'm listening. Interesting.
So this was very interesting. In fact, when I was talking to people, they were your colleagues, they are your friends, ex-colleagues, by the way. So I think 3 words came through very clearly when I started asking people about, or rather when we started asking people about what is your personality like, what is your work style. So 3 points which came through. One is that you're a people developer. You take a lot of interest in developing people around you. You are a learner. In fact, somebody actually said that you're a lifelong learner. You're constantly learning, you're constantly improving yourself. And the third thing is you're an extremely positive person to be around. I think there's always a sense of calm demeanor about you, and you're a very solution-oriented person. So these are the 3 words: people, developer, learner, and positivity, which came across. And then, of course, we started asking a little bit more. We said, okay, let's go beyond his workplace. So what does he enjoy in terms of sports? So apparently, you're an extremely avid football fan. You're a Liverpool supporter, right?
Wow.
So much so that you have roped in your son Kian and got him addicted to FIFA just so that you could enjoy the game with him. I found that very sweet. In terms of your reading habits and your entertainment interests, you are not a fan of self-help genre. You're basically somebody who's into reading management and business books. Then I started asking about, your travel style, your lifestyle. So apparently you really like to travel. Travel is something which you really enjoy a lot. And
Okay.
you're a beach person. So if you have time in the evening, please do go
Looks
across
like
to Marina Beach. Yeah.
looks like you spoken to my wife, not my colleagues. Huh?
Talking about your family, I think recently you had a great time traveling to Masai Mara with your son. Your wife Nikita runs her own business. Um, you love cars, you love driving. You like German cars the most. Whether it's a Skoda, Audi. I think you have a Skoda vehicle at this point of time. And I think that's something common between the two of us. Even I love German cars, especially Skoda.
Apart
Uh,
from the name, huh?
sorry?
Apart from our names.
Apart, yes, apart from our names. By the way, I was told that you have a very dry sense of humor, and sometimes it's difficult to catch on. I don't think it is, but this is what the feedback about you was. You're always very well turned out. You're always in a suit. I understand this is also part of your professional requirement, but people call you very well dressed with always a well tailored suit.
Okay.
Uh, you avoid seafood, you don't really like seafood, and your go-to comfort meal is the simple dal chawal. I can completely understand that. It's a
That
it's a coincidence that people who love traveling usually prefer homemade food like dal chawal as their comfort food. This is something which is quite common amongst most people. Then we started digging around a little bit more. We realized that your son Kian, who's 12, is also an aspiring footballer. Uh, also, you're highly committed to your health. You're a regular gym goer. You have a disciplined diet, which has resulted, I was told this is words which I've got, a significant weight loss. And I was scratching my head. I said that you've always been very fit. So I don't know what the significant weight loss means, but that is what it is. People have noticed that. You're always very professional about things, but in the evening you unwind. Your go-to poison is a single glass of wine at work. But you're very clear that whatever time it starts, everything has to close on for you by 10 p.m. Last but not the least, I was trying to find out what really irritates you. I was told that you're very punctual, you're very orderly in your work, and you do get a bit irritated when either tasks don't get completed on time, or at times certain situations get out of control just because somebody did not commit to a deadline or a particular task. So
now
this is pretty
now I
much
know
what it is.
now I know which colleagues you've spoken with, huh?
Okay, so if you're listening in, trust me, this is his in French, not mine. So thank you so much, Vikas, for gracing our show. It's
Thank
really
you
a
for the
pleasure to host you. Yeah.
kind words, Vikas. Thanks a lot. I think you've spoken to a very kind set of colleagues of mine who've said all nice things about me. Yeah, thank you
Yeah,
so
but
much.
great. So let's just jump into the topic. I think it's a very interesting topic for the day. All of us sitting from outside have really admired the way the whole private banking practice at IDFC First Bank has been built up. Right from the branding to the customer experience. I, for one, am a big fan of the entire experience which you get when you go to the bank. One of the key things I've noticed is that there's a lot of technology. You're probably a little ahead of the curve as far as most other banks go in terms of technology. So I'd like to start off with a question here. How is technology reshaping the private banking experience for affluent and HNI clients in the country today? Because for quite a while, one would want to think that the word technology and high net worth individual are oxymorons. A high net worth
Mm,
individual is not very tech savvy and vice versa. So what
mm.
is your view on that? How is technology reshaping this entire space?
No, so firstly, because that's a misnomer that a high net worth individual is not technology savvy. Okay, that's what we would like to believe.
Mhm.
But as and when you go along, meeting clients, interacting with them, engaging with them, you realize that not all high net worth private banking clients are averse to technology or not technology savvy.
Mhm.
I would put it in a very different manner that uh, wealth management clients, typically the higher end segment of customers, they expect technology to be delivered through a little bit of a human touch, a human angle involved, right? So that does not necessarily mean they're not they're averse to technology or not very savvy. Uh, I would touch upon, let's say, three dimensions that typically HNIs look at when they expect seamless delivery of services from a wealth manager or from a private banking service provider. One is access to information. Okay, that today is become table stakes, right? Access to information is no longer a differentiator or a privilege. So everything that they that they do with you, they need to have access digitally. So just having a private banker or a wealth manager assigned to HNIs is not good enough. They need to kind of digitally have access to all the information. The other is personalization. How do you use technology to personalize solutions for HNI individuals? I think it will draw adoption from such a segment of customers a little higher than what typically it is, right? Because so much of information available at the click of a button today that over a lot of information leads to so many options, and that is where technology comes into play. That is where AI comes into play, where you can personalize, understand the client, and personalize solutions and personalize experiences for such customers. And lastly, I think technology has also led to a lot of transparency. Okay, these segment of customers are used to signing, piles of paper, heaps of paper and files, and that has now changed to digitally getting onboarded, digitally transacting. So there's a lot of transparency that has come, and I think that an HNI customer truly values, in my opinion. So I feel, I mean, it's no longer a differentiator technology. It's now table stakes. It's something that that is the cost of starting this business and not really a differentiator anymore.
Interesting. So if technology is the enabler and not the differentiator, then what is the real differentiator in this modern private wealth space?
See, when I say technology is table stake, what I mean is that how technology needs to be delivered for this segment of clients is very, very different, right? There is still a private banker, a wealth manager who's as much relevant in the client's life as much as tech and accessing data is, right? So the real differentiator here would be, like I said, technology is table stakes, is the starter, is the start point, right? You start from there, giving client the access digitally to everything that he banks with you, he invests with you. The real differentiator here is the contextual relevance of how that is delivered. How well one can convert insights, data, information into intelligent action, right? Information, like I said, is available at a click of a button. Client can access it on various platforms through various sources, right? But is that information necessarily giving the client intelligent insights to action and take decisions on investing on the portfolio? I think that, to me, is the contextual relevance and the big differentiator, right? So it's not about data. It's about what you do with data. It's not also about reach, because tech helps you reach a wider set of customers, but it's more about resonance. So I would say not just returns is what client expects, but this kind of resonance is the new alpha in a client's portfolio, which I think not everybody's up there. The industry itself, we need to really up our game to kind of meet client expectations on this. And at IDFC FIRST Bank, this is our biggest priority at this point in time.
Wow, I just picked up a gem. Resonance is a new alpha. I'm going to use that in a few of my presentations now. That's a wonderful way to just get across the entire narrative. Arjun, I'm sure you have a few questions. Over to you.
Hey, hi, Mr. Sharma. Oh, wonderful,
Hi.
wonderful to have you on our show. Big fan
Thanks.
of your First Talk podcast series.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.
I'll just jump into the questions right away. So humor me for a second before I ask you the question. So I grew up in a small town in Kerala, Thiruvananthapuram. I recall more than a decade ago an argument I had with my father on banking. So it ended with him saying, I don't want to be just a bank account number in an XYZ bank, which I sort of completely appreciate. And to this day, he walks down his bank, he chats up with his manager, etc. But wealth, however, is becoming more and more global. Clients are becoming very digitally aware. And digital interfaces today are becoming the first point of contact for organizations and all businesses. Now, how can private banks design bespoke tech experiences and manage to maintain an emotional connect with the client that works towards building long-term trust? You made 3 points in your previous answers: access to information, personalization, and transparency. 3 important points. Are they enough, or do we have to up the game on the technology front to make that long-term trust connect?
Clients in this segment, the ultra HNI, people with a lot of wealth, for them, like I mentioned to Vikas as well, tech is equally important. In fact, they appreciate tech as much as anybody else would. But what matters to them on a platform? So, for example, a Gen Z, millennial customer, more younger customer, they would love the interface and how a platform makes them feel, the vibe of the platform, as they call it these days, and the experiential part of how seamless the platform is. Whereas to my mind, a private banking client typically is looking for, and these requirements are relevant for others as well, but more so for a wealth management customer, is how safe is it? Is the client in control of how the interface works, and is it really differentiating in understanding and personalizing the experience for the clients? It can't be a one shoes fit all kind of an experience, right? So a bespoke experience for such clients starts with awareness. Okay, is the platform really aware of what my requirement is and what my expectation is, and not really having an interface which is everybody comes and has a very, very similar outcome or a similar experience, right? So that awareness is very, very important. What life stage the client is, what kind of communication channel the client prefers, all of those things become far more relevant than just the look and feel and the kind of experience of the platform itself. So for them, the design has a very different experience. It's not necessarily the traditional typical definition of design. Is the information mentioned? Is it just an information which is available in open source outside at a click of a button, or is it customized to what my need is, what my business is all about, what my personal ambitions and goals are all about? So if you're able to build a tech experience that resonates with all of that, I think then it will become the first touch point for even the wealthy clients. Else, I don't think. For them, it will just be another platform, not really become the primary touch point for them. So that differentiation is something that we need to really strive towards and work for.
Fair enough. A lovely answer. Thanks. Because I'll give it now to Mr. Sachdeva then for your next questions.
Moving away from technology to a more sort of a softer human aspect, which is trust. One of the things, I'm trying to gauge when I talk to a lot of private bankers, I talk to a lot of clients, is that how has the definition of trust evolved in the last decade when you're using more and more technology, and your interactions are becoming more and more quote unquote impersonal, for lack of a better word. How has this whole definition of trust evolved for HNIs in the last 10 odd years? And what does it mean for your team of private bankers today?
Oh, yeah. I think it's for some of us who've been part of the industry and part of the evolution of wealth management in India for a few decades now. Let's say a couple of decades ago, trust was about legacy, right? The trusted wealth advisor, wealth manager would be somebody typically known to the family, known to the promoter, known to the and the person would be trusted with managing wealth because of that reason, not necessarily because of what the person brings to the table, right? But I think today that has changed. That's no longer enough. While that is important, you need to have somebody you can really trust, previous generation, a couple of decades ago would be. But there is much more than that is needed, right? Modern HNIs, especially the next gen HNIs, next gen private banking clients, they define trust very differently. For them, it's about transparency, it's about consistency and the intent. And again, it stems from the fact that because there's so much of information available, unlike how this business operated, let's say 2 decades back, with a lot of opaqueness. So the information coming out from the wealth manager is, the golden truth, right? And the client would go by that. But today, you need to be absolutely clear, transparent, consistent in what you communicate, and obviously the intent has to be client-centric, because I think this generation of customers really see through that very, very easily. And I think that, to my mind, is the big differentiator. Whether it is transparency about the fee structures, whether what products are you offering, how is the quality of the information that you provide. So all of this, the private bankers today really need to up the game when it comes to all of this. It just is not relationship anymore. Relationship continues to be the foundation still, in my opinion, but that's not enough anymore, in my opinion.
Very interesting. I've often heard of this phrase that people invest when they're comfortable, not when they're convinced. And I think you're alluding to some part of that.
Yeah.
But if I have to put myself in the shoes of an ultra high net worth investor today, what are the 3 things I should be looking at when I evaluate a private banker?
So see, let's look at it. What a client would look at when a client would decide to do business with you. Okay, and this could vary, but this is my reading of of engaging with customers and meeting customers and understanding what they prefer and why do they bank with a particular private banker or a platform for that matter. First and foremost is the client needs to believe that there is absolutely no bias involved in what comes from the wealth manager, the private banker, right? That to my mind is something that doesn't change with time and with generations, right? So that remains. So that we earlier spoke, the trust factor, right?
Correct.
Second is dramatically different from what it used to be earlier, which is a strong platform, a good quality platform, like access to my information, relevant information. So is it just piece of data that comes to me, or is this data telling me, giving me enough, enough things to kind of take decision regarding my investment and my portfolio. And lastly, being and it's not necessarily in that sequence, is the products and services. Is there the entirety of what a private banking ecosystem is required? Is the wealth manager offering all of it? Are there right products? The portfolio management services, alternate products? Do I have access to everything that is needed in my portfolio? So I think these 3 things typically, to my mind, appear to be the most relevant in the list of what an HNI customer typically looks at.
That's very, very clear and crisp. I think it just resonates with me. You're saying that if I have to look at a private banker, I should get the feeling that there's no bias. The platform should be seamless, and I should not be going somewhere else to look for a range of products. It should be pretty comprehensive. I think that's very relevant. Arjun, over to you.
Again, one quick question. So the advent of AI has brought about an increased usage of data, analysis of patterns, etc. Now, you mentioned trust. Now, so when this comes to predictive analysis, there are a number of studies that sort of show that AI is sort of able to predict and preempt with an appreciable level of accuracy. Now, on this topic, are there concerns that you have that could affect this trust factor that one has with the client? Does it raise new concerns around privacy, ethics, and data ethics in that sense?
I would I would like to believe that it completely depends on how you use something like predictive analytics, right? AI itself, there is a lot of debate that goes on, right, in terms of how it can be used for purposes that are not right and ethical enough. So it completely depends on, in how that information is being used. But my view is that predictive analytics, if used in the right manner, in the most ethical manner, I think can be a game changer. It can be a very powerful trust building tool for customers, because that's, in all honesty, in all earnestness, that is what the client is looking for from you, right? So if you approach this in the right fashion, ethically, I think it can be very, very powerful too. Otherwise, it's a double-edged sword, like you also mentioned, that if not used in the right spirit, it can lead to a lot of mistrust, because there's a thin line between personalizing things and intrusion of privacy, right? So we need to be aware of that, draw the line, and make sure that we use relevant information to personalize relevant solutions for customers, and not necessarily intrude in the private space and make the customers uncomfortable and probably create mistrust. And to my mind, that is how I look at predictive. I think it's a very powerful tool, and if you do it right, it can just be a complete game changer.
Fair enough. Okay. Thanks a lot, Vikas. Over to you, Mr. Sachdeva.
Let's talk about transformation. Transformation, there are various connotations to that. There are various ways to look at it. For example, am talking to a couple of people, and we're trying to ascertain what could be the digital transformation path for an alternate firm. Okay, so I think it's basically about rethinking a lot of existing mindsets and models. But as a leader driving this entire business, my question to you is, what's been the mindset at your end, at the senior management's end, to drive in a transformational experience from what could be a traditional wealth business plus to a future ready one? Also, let me just rephrase my question. How are you making sure that your business is future ready?
Yeah. So the age-old saying, that phrase, that change is the only constant, right? So transformation is something that every business over a period of time should transition into delivering what the client is expecting, what the market is expecting, what the industry is expecting, right? Otherwise, you become you're just left behind in terms of what the reality on the ground is, what the client is expecting of you. So the biggest mind shift change, if I were to just draw that parallel from, let's say, today or the recent past to what the future should look like, is the big mindset change, Vikas, between unfortunately, and I'm also part of the industry, unfortunately, the product first approach or the transactional approach that we have as far as wealth management is concerned, that has to change dramatically into a client first. Everybody talks about client centricity, but I feel there's a long way to go. And this mindset of focusing on a great product, a great NFO, or a great new launch, and transactional mindset to actually client mindset, where earlier success volume. So let's look at what are the success measures of a business. Okay, would be typically the size of asset, the size of book that you manage, the revenue that you generate, how long the clients have had relationship with you, the depth of those relationships, some of those things which are which can be published on the dashboard and tracked and monitored and claimed to be doing well or not doing well, right? But I think the transformation that's needed, and those things will remain, right? Because at the end of the day, you're running business, so all of those things are relevant in a journey of a business. But the transformation that's needed is in client centricity, building client journeys. So, for example, let's take an example of any financial services institution, whether a bank or any other financial services, right? If you onboard a client who's young, Gen Z, you build products, you have products built around that Gen Z customer. And as the customer evolves in their own life cycle, right? They buy the first house, they build wealth, they become probably a private banking customers at some point in time, then they retire, they pass on that generational wealth to the next generation. And this is the cycle, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't think as a financial services institution, you could make a success or legacy out of your business model if this client whom you acquired at when he started the career, when he passed out of college, got his first job and started banking with you right up to you becoming a private banking customer, passing on generational wealth to the next gen, with the same trust, experience, and enthusiasm that, across all the life stages. And that, to my mind, can happen only through thinking about client life cycle, client journeys, and aligning everything to that. So all those stages, do I have products and solutions for all those stages? If yes, then, probably you're doing the right thing. But if not, and if your approach is that, okay, what is the product I have for a client at this point in time, then probably I think, that needs to be tremendously, there's need to transform that approach, that mindset, in my opinion.
Very interesting. Basically, what I'm hearing you is that the only way to be future ready is to start anticipating and start acting on it right now. Yeah. Okay. You never know what the future holds, but if you are anticipating, you'll probably be able to see the bends in the road. Wonderful.
Absolutely.
So what does a next generation private banking model look like? If you could, just paint the canvas for us here.
So see, it has to be, this is the client who has access to information, right? So you need to be absolutely top of the technology game. You have to be ahead of the curve. You started with my introduction, and the best part I liked about my introduction is that what we do here at IDFC, as far as technology and tech and digital is concerned, is slightly ahead of the game, and which is what at least makes me more excited about this business than just the numbers, right? So our AUM growth numbers have been phenomenal, but I think if we're able to leverage technology very well, that is the more exciting part. So a future ready, wealth business has to be technology first, tech first, digital first. Okay, and by tech, I'm also including futuristic tech that will be backed by data, AI, all of those things, right? We are already seeing, green shoots of what AI is capable of doing on the wealth side. So that whole personalization experience, not just through the wealth manager. Wealth manager is the one who will eventually deliver all of that, but the enablement of that through superior tech, I think that, to my mind, is how a future-ready private banking, tech-led private banking platform outfit will look like.
Very interesting. I mean, it's a very tough question to answer. I appreciate that you're trying to add some color to it. Arjun, over to you.
I have two questions, so I'll just club them together. We've been talking about tech, and we've been talking about how tech is sort of changing the perception of tech. Now, coming back to the investor, the clients per se, how are you seeing the preferences of affluent clients evolve over time between traditional assets, global investments, newer investments like private equity, venture debt, structured products, etc.? How are you seeing that shift? And second, now we talk about alternative investments. So if you look at the HNI portfolios and the HNI preferences, I don't think they use the word alternate. Alternate is now more like a core part of their portfolio. So how do you see the private banking industry sort of adapt to this shift, especially in your client portfolios? So these two questions.
So very good question, because very, very relevant question, actually. See, many years back, the typical conversation with a client is equity and debt, how much equity and how many, 50-50 equity and debt, or whatever, 70 equity, 30 debt. That is the kind of typical conversation one would have about asset allocation, about what is the value add one is doing in the client portfolio, right? So that is still necessary. I'm not belittling that, but that's not enough anymore, right? Because the affluent, the HNI customer is looking for much more than just how much equity and debt in my portfolio, right? Because that is now, like I said earlier, few other things, that has also now become table stakes. That is what you start your client engagement with, but that's just the start point, right? Client is expecting much beyond that. And for example, many years back, or a decade back, investing in IPOs and NFOs was a real big thing, right? And wealth managers would just go to all customers with new IPOs and NFOs coming, and that all of those ideas looking like fresh investment ideas, and clients would really subscribe to those ideas, and anybody who was a meaningful investor would participate in those activities, right? And look at what has changed now today. Okay, clients are wanting to take a step back and say that, what, listing is too late for me to start investing, right? I mean, once a company is listed, there is always a lot of value that's been extracted already, pre-listing. And I need to find opportunities that come ahead of the curve before listing, and that is where you're seeing so much of interest in the pre-listed private equity space, right? Because clients are now wanting to kind of participate in the whole value creation journey prior to listing, and not just wait for, although there is still a premium that one gets on the listing price, but that is not enough, right? Because there's humongous amount of value creation chain that is available and accessible to clients now today, prior to even listing, right? Venture debt, for that matter, structured products, which probably didn't exist about a decade and a half, 2 decades ago, right? So all of these things are changing. These are now becoming, to my mind, what the client, expects or has a preference over, right? It's not just the asset allocation and a plain vanilla, a product solution, right? That no longer while the core philosophy still remains around that. You will still be focused on listed equities. You'll still have some preservation fund parked in fixed income and all of that. But the new age customer is really looking for access to some of these more new age ideas that are kind of you're seeing today in the market. So to my mind, I think that is the big shift in client preference that at least I'm observing in my engagement with customers.
Fair enough. That was very, very, very insightful, Vikas. Mr. Sachdeva, over to you again.
Thank you, Arjun. Audience questions have started coming in. Some very interesting questions. I was just looking at them, and maybe we'll go to them after these last couple of questions. Just want to read your mind in terms of your vision for building the future of private banking. To go into the future, I need to ask you, what would you do if you had to build a private bank from scratch today? No legacy, no constraints. How would you build it?
Very interesting. So we have at IDFC FIRST Bank built a private banking business from scratch. I think I'd like to believe that we would build it again, that in the same fashion as we've done. Obviously, there are learnings that you take along as you build a business. But like I think we touched upon briefly earlier, the one thought around which we build all businesses here, including private banking, is the customer clarity, right? And build everything around that customer clarity, the customer, what the client wants, right? The product solution, the product approach, I think is old-fashioned, is something that probably will still give you business. I'm not saying that approach doesn't give business. If it didn't, then people would have stopped doing it. But I feel that if you want to build a legacy, and client trust, and something that, and it's a business that also grows by, the brand also grows by word of mouth and client references. And if you're happy with a service like this, you refer to your friends and family, right? If you want a business of that kind of goodwill and that kind of brand, then I think the customer clarity has to be, customer centricity has to be the center stage. What does this mean? What this means basically, you have to focus on a digital first approach, because like I said, digital first will solve problems of transparency, problems of access to information, problems of and it'll free up the time for the private banker, the wealth manager, to have more meaningful engagement with the clients, rather than just servicing them on things that can be digitally enabled and technologically enabled, right? Absolutely transparent fee structures, not unbiased approach towards fee revenue. I think some portions of the business industry, we do see things like that, where there is client mistrust. I think some of these things need to be part of your core essence of how you're building this business, right? Core values of how you're building this business. And obviously the product platform has to be robust enough that the client, whatever the private banking customer's need is kind of addressed. He doesn't need to look elsewhere for any kind of solution, whether you're able to deliver it in-house through the solutions that are available within the outfit, or if you need to have partnerships to kind of make those services available to customers. So have those partnership with similar trusted brands like the one that you're building. So I think some of these things, to my mind, would be important to kind of build a private bank from the scratch. Absolutely essential. And that is how I'd like to believe that we've gone about building it in the last 5 to 6 years.
I was wearing a customer hat when I was listening to you. Okay. And all of these things resonate with me, although I must confess that the little boy in me was half expecting you to say we will use AR glasses, and all of that for becoming a technology oriented thing, because you are at the, you are way ahead of, tech in your bank. I think you got a few awards also on that. So I'm not just saying that to please you. I think you got independent ratification of that also. So I was half expecting you to throw in a few names like quantum computing and AR glasses and all of that. But I'm very glad you did. I was very happy to hear you say what you said. My last question to you is, what's your view on this whole concept of curated investment ecosystems? Something, it's a fancy word, but it essentially talks about combining public markets, alternates, global exposure, and Bitcoin, if you will. I'm just taking that as something which is now catching the fancy of a lot of people. So, what's your view on this entire curated investment ecosystem? Something which you can offer to.
I think where this stems from, Vikas, is, and it need not necessarily be the requirement of all clients, but I think where it stems from is the fact that because of digital, the clients no longer expect or want piecemeal information on portfolios, right? I mean, now you are aware, now there's account aggregator where customers can see all their bank accounts together on one platform, right? So that is the level of that is the level of integration the world has reached to. Yeah, that's available, right? Similarly is for investments also. You can view all your mutual funds on one platform, right? So what typically is client is averse to, and very rightly so, is information in piecemeal, portfolios in piecemeal, right? I mean, even if I have two people I bank with, is there, and like you said, we already have made meaningful use of, at least given that access to clients where they can view all their bank accounts, they can view all of their mutual funds, their stocks on a single platform, right? So that is a start point. So client is expecting everything to be a cohesive, unified investment story. So if these are my finances, these are my loans, these are my deposits, these are my investments, is there one platform that can make it look like one cohesive investment story for me, even if it is on multiple platforms. So that to my mind is a direction which we are moving towards. And taking it to the next level. So this is about the platform. Taking it to the next level, products also. I think what clients are looking for is, a client really doesn't differentiate between, when a client wants to invest, an FD is also an investment, a mutual fund is also an investment, an equity share is also an investment, and so is an alternate product like an AIF, PMS, or a bond, right? So for them, they're making an investment and they need to kind of have access to all of it on one single platform and ecosystem, right? That also includes giving them access to, a lot of customers now want access to global investments, right? They wish to have and Gift City is enabling that very, very beautifully, as we all are working towards it, where not just the non-resident Indian clients, but even the resident Indian clients would have access to a lot of investments that are dollar denominated or foreign currency denominated, right? If they're looking at currency risk to be hedged and things like that. So I think done well, this ecosystem is not just about access to platform product, but it's about a new age business architecture, and it reflects very, very deep understanding of a client. Like I said, it's very client specific. All clients may not really need it, but yeah, there is a expectation a lot of clients have on unifying all of this and probably having an architecture that supports this kind of a requirement.
Interesting. So it's actually circling back to what you started off by saying, that it should not be product, transactional product, and you're saying you should not look at it product, more like a portfolio. You should engage in terms of the ecosystem. I think it sums it all up. That's very interesting. And as we were talking, I think lots and lots of questions came about. In fact, Priya asked a question. She preempted this Gift City thing, and she's asking, with initiatives like Gift City, how are Indian private banks like yourselves, positioning to compete on a global stage?
Yeah. I think we feel Gift City is a brilliant initiative. It's a phenomenal idea. Very, very early stages yet, but I think the concept itself is phenomenal. It probably gives Indian customers, Indian clients, access to much more, than probably they would have. Earlier they would have had to probably have access to some service provider outside of India, to kind of get access to investments outside India. But today, I think Gift City will enable that far more seamlessly. While it is a separate jurisdiction, it is a separate regulated entity, the Gift City, but the access to Indians and to even to resident Indian and non-resident Indians, I think that can be a game changer. Gift City is also enabling all of that through a lot of tax efficient investment options, right? A lot of the products that, specifically for non-resident Indian customers, a lot of the products that typically would be taxed in either of the geographies, either their country of residence or their country of origin, which is India. Gift City, I think, kind of is far more efficient. The Gift City model and structure is far more efficient when it comes to taxation, and a lot of the NR investment interest will move to GIFT City. And so is the case for, I think it's still evolving, it's in the evolution stage. We will see a lot of some interesting ideas that we keep hearing with GIFT City participants. The authorities there are very, very interesting even for HNI investors who are looking for global exposure, who are looking for dollar-denominated, foreign currency-denominated products. IDFC is also very, very keen. We have our GIFT City branch that we've just recently opened, and we will continue to add more products that our clients can access through GIFT City.
Wonderful. A few more questions, and I'm going to run through very quickly, trying to get as many questions as place. Ram Goel is saying that it's great listening to you. He has a question on succession planning or wealth transfer for future generations. How should he approach it, and what are the things he should be mindful of?
So thank you for the feedback. Legacy planning, estate planning, intergenerational wealth transfer. It's a very deep, detailed subject that requires a lot of understanding. There cannot be a generic response to it. But I think two things that I will mention, which specific to people with high net worth, and some of these things not necessarily even related to net worth. That I think everybody who has investments and assets that need to be kind of passed on to next generation should look at and should consider. One is obviously will formation. I think the awareness around that in India is just phenomenally, abysmally low, right? I don't think we really feel. I think it's probably to do something to do with our with our history of joint family structure and things like that, where But I think will creation is something that's picking up with some digital platforms now, making it more accessible. But I think that has to be part of every client's portfolio. I mean, I tell all our private bankers that you should have that irrespective of the age. It's not something that a 60-year-old has to build. It is something that you start having a conversation even at a younger age, as soon as there is enough distributable assets that a client has. I think you should have that. And second is if you have really a complex matrix family structure, business structure where multiple family members are involved, then I think creation of a trust formation, and passing on benefits to the next generation by way of a trust. I think that is a far more efficient methodology in case you have a complex structure in the business and in the family itself in terms of ownership of the business and things like that. I think these two things come to my mind that probably are more generic. Rest, I think it's a very deep conversation one can have depending on what exact requirements a client has, unique requirements, personalized requirements. It will depend on that.
That's such a profound answer, this creation of will. I think most of us tend to gloss over it. For me, the moment of truth was COVID. I actually made my will during COVID because there was so much of the question on your mortality was the highest during COVID, and that is when you started feeling mortal and you want to do something. But that's really a very good answer. Irrespective of age, you should do that. Someone is asking about the bank's major catalyst among private sector banks, which I think you've answered. You also touched upon Jyotismati's question about traditional 60-40 equity debt allocation in light of recent economic cycles. Sai is, okay, let me just take through some comments. Dell is asking about post-tax return for HNI, NRI clients. I think you could probably reach out to the bank advisor directly. Okay, so what do you think about alternative assets like real estate, infrastructure investment through AIs, REITs, InvITs, or even crypto within a diversified portfolio? Sai is asking this question.
Okay, so Sai, alternate universe is ever expanding, right? I mean, cryptocurrency and all of these new fancy asset classes. I don't know whether somebody was debating with me the other day whether it is an asset class or a product category. it's ever expanding, right? And we should not get enamored by the fact that, I've personally never invested in cryptocurrency myself, but I engage with clients who do that. I don't think there's need for us to get enamored by all of this that is available out there in the market. I don't think everybody needs all of it. You mentioned about real estate, and some of these access to some of these products through financialization of real estate through REITs and these kind of products. I think is a phenomenal move. It gives us, so a lot of people in India, India is a very real estate skewed market when it comes to investment, right? All HNIs have a very sizable in real estate portfolio. And that's a different debate, not for right now. But yeah, financialization of real estate is I think a great methodology for one to participate in real estate, not necessarily having to buy a piece of land or a piece of property, and still kind of operate it like. But I always believe that real estate in India is invested more from the feel of owning a property and not necessarily as an asset class diversification only, right? Because had it been an asset class diversification, it would have just formed a very small part of the portfolio. The kind of skew that I see typically in client portfolios, it's not necessarily for that reason. But if that is the reason, that it's a great diversification tool, great diversification product, I think everybody should have. If it's a meaningful asset class, which I believe it is, if invested in a relevantly, relevant proportion from a diversification standpoint.
I'll probably take one last question. Lots and lots of questions. Ram is again asking about ESG and sustainability considerations. Someone is asking about offering advice to individuals who want to build a career in wealth management landscape. Why don't we do that? I think there are a lot of people listening to you, and I think Suman's question might just open up a few vistas of imagination for people. What advice would you offer to individuals aspiring to build a career in wealth management, especially in today's dynamic financial landscape? Let's end with this.
See, I'm in this business because I love what I do. I and Vikas have had this conversation many times. I absolutely enjoy what I do, and I tell people that it's a business that done well, it can give you immense joy because you're looking after people's money. Somebody's trusting you kind of, with their money. And if you're doing an honest job, and if there is a satisfied set of clients who are happy with that you do, I think it can be a very, very enriching experience. Wealth management as an industry is at a cusp of a very, very high growth trajectory that one can see, because obviously it's the India growth story that will power this whole growth in wealth management that we will see. But yeah, like I said, it is a client centric, and I would like to believe people who feel that it's a very product centric industry and business. No, it is a very client centric business. One will have hundreds and thousands and millions of clients accessing your products and services. And as the evolution of tech, AI, you will need to find hundreds and thousands of different ways and personalized methods in which you deliver those services to those customers, right? So it has to be I look at it more a customer-centric business than a product-oriented piece. I think a MBA degree or a CFA degree or some specialized degree that helps you get closer to a wealth management kind of can help you understand this business. But I think to kind of really be successful, some of these aspects of to build products and to deliver those solutions in a very customer centric manner is what will get you success.
I absolutely agree with you. In fact, because there are so many questions which have come in talking about account aggregators, rates, InBits. Is it okay if we send you these questions and maybe you could have your team answer some of them?
Yeah, happy to do that. Yeah.
There are lots of questions coming in. We have to decide which is the best question because there's a special prize for the best question. What question would you want to take on board? There are several questions which I asked you. I asked you about alternative assets. I asked you about wealth management as a career. I asked you about gift city, succession planning. Which one would you want to nominate as the best question?
I think the one on alternate assets is something that I thought was is there in everybody's mind, but somebody I think had the courage to actually ask it, because there's so much of information available and everybody's wondering that, that FOMO, missing out, feeling of missing out on, I'm not a cryptocurrency investor. You need not be a cryptocurrency investor, right? So I think that was a very relevant question, relevant for everybody, I thought.
So congratulations, Sai, you're the winner of this question. And in case any of you want to have more information on alternates, you can always go to our website. You can talk to an advisor from IDFC FIRST Bank. Like he rightly pointed out, there is a lot of information out there, but it will be our attempt to sift through and give you what is relevant to you. Thank you so much, Vikas, for gracing our show. Thank you, Arjun, for being a co-host. Arvind, would you like to wrap it up?
Yeah, sure, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Vikas, sir, for all your great insights. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot,
Thank you,
Vikas.
Thank you, Arjun, sir.